That means for the next few minutes, this Bioforce is going to be far weaker than it should be at this stage of the game. We're almost at the 20-minute mark. Those Bio are still on 2-2, which is not where you want to be. And here we go again.
And always we see those Mutalisks pushing everything back, getting into a safe position, starting to target fire this orbital command, and then Snoot's going to pull back again. Hero Marine still managing to stay alive with 37 Marines on the field, but with only 36 workers, Snoot is doing just a fantastic job of whittling them away. And that creep spread, look, there's not even any more ground to spread on in the top left.
Yeah, he's actually got right to the edge. Incredible, incredible creep spread. And I love those two Burrowed Banelings. Again, he's doing them in the middle of the fight, which means it's much less likely that Hero Marine will see it. And it also leads to the possibility of dragging your opponent's army across. I love this technique. More Banelings coming in here. And Snoot's just deciding, you know what, I can be inefficient. And he's right. You know, behind all of this, with no drop harass, fantastic splitting by Hero Marine, but I don't know if it's going to be enough at all. There's just too many units. GG.
Wow, GG.
Snoot, you monster. Now, that is the Snoot that we're used to seeing. The fact that he just manhandled Hero Marine, arguably the strongest player in this tournament that way, clearly indicates that Snoot is on fire today. This is fantastic.
You know, I mean, everyone goes for Ling Muta Baneling. I mean, like,
course,
no one's going to not do that most of the time in this matchup. And it's the way that players do it that really showcases a big range of style. In that game, we saw Snoot favor getting the fourth hatch before the layer. Most of the time, people are thinking of the Mutalisk as that key defensive unit. But we saw Snoot get so many Ling Baneling that he started to go on the offense. And if he's going on the offense, what does that mean? Well, the Zergling counterattack to force Hero Marine to pull back. And when that happened, he set up the Burrowed Banelings to begin whittling down the forces and using Burrowed Banelings throughout again and again. And then the Mutalisk came up. The Mutalisk actually popped out very, very late, so it might be hard to notice, but they were almost always attacking the Terran player, and rarely do we see aggressive Mutalisks in this matchup. Normally they're just defensive, killing off drops, staying back to pick off medevacs and mines, but there, wow, just lightning pacing by Snoot.
I love it, because what ended up happening there is there was so much aggression coming down that Hero Marine couldn't even afford to send drops across the map. There was, the last drop that I saw ended up dropping at the Xel'Naga Watchtower and just losing a few Marines, then having to pull back, because Snoot just kept laying on that pressure. It wasn't like Hero Marine could afford to take a medevac or even two medevacs and 8 to 16 Marines away from his army. He needed that to stop the constant aggression. So the Mutalisks, instead of being in the usual drop denial role, were in their let's kill the +3 role, which is a much better role. I like that role a lot.
Definitely. Absolutely. I think that... Well, I'm actually sort of looking at the sort of future of Team Germany at this point in time. I'm sort of trying to think, well, if you have TLO and you have Sake, and you have potentially an upcoming future match, I kind of do like the fact that Hero Marine is actually going to get a break. You know, I mean, if you want to have him coming up in the finals as your first person to go out, I mean, regardless of really matchups, but more thinking about like a person who gets tired, who has energy surges. You like this theme that we're seeing out of Germany to just send out their players in an order and less about send them out versus certain players. I mean, it's actually very convenient for the players. They have a really clear mental sense of when they're going to be going at it.
That's to be expected from the Germans. We will send out Hero Marine, and then we will send out Tier Lords. There will be no deviation.
They're screaming at each other.
Yeah, they're just all three of them are in
somewhere.
that Skype chat. It's just... I just imagine that, which is hilarious because we are talking about the three quietest StarCraft 2 players in the world here. Like, come on, Soke, TLO, and Hero Marine, really? When have you ever heard any of them yelling at any point in history? But I could just imagine that that's how Germans talk to each other.
You know, I want to just give a shout out to Sokka's attitude. He is just a very relaxed human.
Yes.
And I think it's that he's played on the stage so much. I mean, we mentioned a little bit of the EPS yesterday that Sokka and Hero Marine are like regulars, and that is a live event that's going on oftentimes once a week in Germany. And you'll be seeing, you know, a crowd of a few hundred that often, and if you're losing on stage and in really tough positions that often, then yeah, it begins to really train you to calm down instead of to focus on winning everything in this exact moment and oh, I didn't win, time to rage. I've never really seen Saka rage that much.
Yeah, I have never seen that. And he's been in a lot of my tournaments. He took a lot of my money back in the day. He won 2 Shoutcrafts, Shoutcraft 2 and 3.
Oh, that's right, he did, yeah.
Yeah, he was damn good at it. It was just incredible play both times, and no one really expected it out of him as well. That was the really cool thing. Soke came through that as, yeah, he's a solid player, but he's not like he's not the fanciest player. He's not the player with the most results, and well, he just took it. He really, really took it to them. He did really well.
Dude, John, he's the player with the most results. Come on, man. He doesn't have WCS championships, but man, does he have a lot of those, like,
EPS
little
tournaments,
wins.
things like that. Yeah, that's actually a fair point. Like, I guess people look at it and say, well, he hasn't won that many majors. Well, actually, his majors are ridiculous. He hasn't won that many premiers, but, I mean, he has won, let's see, 1, 2, 3 ESL Pro Series, and he's come second in 4 more ESL Pro Series. You know, it's pretty ridiculous. He's actually very, very good, and that's not counting all the other stuff, like Scan Invitational, Shoutcraft 2, Shoutcraft 3, Black Dragon League, even the HD World Tournament, he comes in high place, only losing out to Sen there. And for God's sake, he won the DreamHack Coin Toss Tournament. The Coin Toss Tournament.
He's even good at RNG when it comes up. What a skill set.
Jeez, he should transition to Hearthstone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Habitation Station in the Red Trunks, playing for Team Germany. It's Liquid TLO. Versus his opponent to the northwest position in the Blue Trunks, playing Zerg. From the Trolldom and Norway, Liquid Snoot.
Speaking of the Hearthstone RNG, did you perchance see that video where the guy did like 54 damage to me in one turn?
I did not. Was that a warrior one-turn kill deck, or?
Well, okay, so let me tell the whole story, because, you're talking about getting Sake to play Hearthstone due to the RNGs.
Alright.
So I was, before the ladder reset, and, before a lot of the recent patch nerfs, I was having a great time on the ladder. And my sort of story was that I would use some good decks, and by good decks, it would be the decks that my friend Case made. And I'd work up to, like, rank 4. And then I'd be like, you know what? I want to do something insane and silly. And then I'd tumble back down to, like, 7 or 8. And then work my way back up to 4 with the good decks and tumble back down.
Yeah.
And then so I brazenly said, well, if I just keep using these good decks, no doubt I'll hit Legend. These are the same decks that Case used to hit Legend. So I made all day on Friday. The name of the show was Sean's Climb to Legend. Okay, so I hop on and do nothing but just get mauled. I mean, like, mauled by a bear. I literally just started at rank 7 and tumbled down to rank 9.
Wow.
Over the course of like 8 hours, and finally I was like, you know what? Screw it. Guys, I'm going to show you a cool warrior one-turn kill deck. So a lot of times people use the Molten Giant thing.
Yeah.
But I was using the Faceless Manipulator on the Charge Worgen thing. So, the important thing is that in the final game, I'm a warrior one-turn kill deck versus a warrior one-turn kill deck.
Okay.
So we're both sitting there doing nothing, just armoring up, and he keeps floating at 33 armor, or 33 total life, and I can deal 32 damage for like 7 turns in a row, and then I just went, guys, we're probably going to lose this. I just want to show you the combo so you can see it, because it's really fun. And then so I did it, and I brought him to 1 life, and I had like 51 life, 30 health, 21 armor or so. And then he just kills me in 1 turn, and then they immediately nerfed after that. I was like, no!
Those one-turn kill decks were kind of ridiculous, I gotta say.
So good.
This is actually why I only play Arena, because you just can't set up that condition in an Arena deck. It's highly unlikely you'll ever face that. So, I'm very glad to never have to run into something that ridiculous. There's also, right now, floating around, I think I was watching Reynad's stream, Nothing's happening in the game, by the way, guys. We're not ruining this for you, but we'll talk about StarCraft in a minute. But I was watching Reynard's stream, and he has this Hunter deck, which is just horrible. It abuses the hell out of Unleash the Hounds and all manner of horrible things. It uses, like, Unleash the Hounds, comboed with Starving Buzzard for maximum card draw, comboed with other components of this ridiculous combo. It's just horrible. He's legend. He's just brutalizing people with it.
I love it.
Ugh, makes me sick. That's why I play Arena, so I can get 6 fire elementals in one deck.
Oh.
Alright, folks, this is what's going on in the game. Let's talk about StarCraft. So, in the first few minutes, really nothing happened between either of these two, and it was an interesting decision, I think, to send out TLO against Snoot, who is historically very good in this matchup, but so's TLO.
Yeah.
We're seeing the +1 missile attack upgrade very nice and early on here, but we are seeing at the moment, from Snoot, a Baneling Nest and, of course, Zergling Speed. Speaking of Zergling Speed, TLO has 2 Zerglings, and neither of them has speed, and he's showing no intention of building it. He's going straight into Roach Warren.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the strategies that we're seeing here. TLO is doing a very map-specific strategy that might not have looked that way until this very moment. He's blasting out with this plus missile attack. Okay, that means he's preparing either for a timing push or for the mega late game. So generally, you would see Roaches begin constructing for some sort of push at this point. But then he's going to be using these extra beefy Roaches to take this hatchery. It's a defensive play to get these missile attacks. And why would you say that? Because with +1 missile attacks, you can kill Zerglings in 2 shots instead of 3 with Roaches. It's basically the same as a +1 Zealot upgrade. And we're seeing Snoot do a much more traditional play. He's opting for Zergling speed first, and same logic. Rather than playing defensive, he's going to push back with speed Zerglings. No Banelings from either player, just due to that thin ramp at the front, makes Banelings pretty horrible in the opening stage, but look at this. Easy cancel.
Yeah.
Going to deny this. And now TLO is going to do his counter push. Originally, this was a defensive play, but now that he's lost that hatch, and he's seen that it's Lings that caused him to lose the hatch, that permits him to swing back with +1.
Indeed. +1 just kicks in there for the Roaches. We're going to need to see a lot of Lings. Actually, yeah, TLO's droning behind this. There are Roaches coming up for Snoot here as well. Quite a lot of them, in fact. They won't have +1. That doesn't make a huge difference in the Roach Wars, but well, we'll see what can happen here. TLO's going for it, and he looks like, yeah, he's got to get this.
Oh, Snoot does cancel, so the game reverts back to a little bit more of a typical ZVZ, and TLO with the clutch block at the front. And TLO is doing just a gentle little poke. He just wants to shove back as much as possible, but Snoot, of course, is Snoot and gets the better positioning.
Yes, he did. That was a really, really nice concave. TLO can get out of there. He's managed to get off the creep and put enough distance between him and the enemy. He may lose a Roach on the way back, but nothing major. And of course, Snoot does not want to overextend because a counter Roach push could come in. Snoot's actually started his speed for Roaches about 40 seconds before TLO started his. TLO focused on ground carapace instead first.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to come back to bite him in the arse. We'll see if Snoot decides to make a play out of that.
So we're going to talk about Snoot's strat and then TLO's strat. Snoot's very straightforward. He's using speed to push back so that he can get up his gold. First he tried it with Ling speed. It didn't work. Now he's going to try to do it with Roach speed, and it's going to work. And we're going to see Snoot's gold come up. TLO's build, on the other hand, is a series of really funky if-thens. If I get this big +1 Roach, and he doesn't attack me really, really quickly, then I get a gold, and I have an upgrade lead, and I can overwhelm with Roaches. But if he does kill it off, then great. I push back to him, because he can only kill me with Lings, and then I get an edge. And now we're in this if-then situation. If he does try to go to Roaches and try to push back, I'm going to have a huge upgrade lead. He'll beat me to speed, but I'll have 1-1 when he's at 0-0. And this will allow me to hold this slightly worse bottom base. So what TLO has to do after he defends this, though, is do a big pushback on this gold.
Yeah, he needs to make sure the gold goes down. Otherwise, I mean, having a gold base in a 3-base versus 3-base mirror situation is just really hard to come back from. You can build so much more stuff in general. TLO now pushing across the map. Snoot did not want to engage, and he's pretty right to do that. But this 1-1 upgrade for TLO might help. The Leo Reconstitution just kicks in, yo, and here we go. Snoot with the 0-0, TLO with the 1-1, both with equally good concaves. Although, actually, I'd say it slightly favors TLO, but Snoot is now moving in and is getting fire with all of his Roaches. numbers-wise, it's looking very, very even right now. Reinforcements coming from the back here, but Snoot getting the slightly better end of this. However, will TLO's upgrades allow him to crash through? Looks like it's so very close, but Snoot gets it, and the first person to blink has got to be TLO. However, he backs around, grabs the Zelnaga Tower, gets a few more kills, and regroups.
I mean, it's such a nail-bitingly close fight.
Ooh, that cut off.
TLO was getting the slightly better edge via all those upgrades, but Snoot has the gold base advantage, which is a very clear to understand advantage.
Indeed.
I mean, right now, Snoot is going to be able to power up. He can even afford another hatchery in a little bit to be able to macro off, but he's going to have to slightly up his drone count. TLO, on the other hand, does have more drones overall, but with a worse income rate, so this is where TLO begins to need to transition. Yep, there it is, to the Banelings, because there's really no upgrades that are going to help. Hydralisks have been increasingly shown to not be as mobile in this matchup, but damn, Baneling speed, always useful.
Burrow on the way for TLO as well. Possibility for some snazzy micro. We'll see where that goes. TLO does have 2-1 roaches against 1-0 roaches. Admittedly, he also had 1-1 versus 0-0, and that didn't really give him the edge that he necessarily needed to crash through. Interestingly enough, they've both lost exactly 35 roaches each.
Wow. It's a very even trade. Wow, you know, I think that
more so than you might think.
When there is a StarCraft video textbook, that's going to be the perfect fight to show equalization. Like, well, all things being equal, because TLO went for early upgrades, and Snoot has more roaches, as showcased by this battle.
Where they both lose exactly 35, yes. Snoot's going to enter the base. Only a couple of links, but he might be able to do a little bit of damage. The Queen should be able to shut that down without too much of a problem, though. Does get some scouting information, which I suppose helps. He did miss the Baneling nest, however, and the speed upgrade that's going in the back. Ooh.
You know, there are
Snoot Roach Ball incoming.
Well, TLO is going to have a huge concave advantage. That is a lesser talked about edge, and a concave advantage is worth at least 10 roaches in this sort of spot. I think TLO is going to be in a very good position to do some good damage here. I should absolutely be fine out. These Banelings are popping out.
Very nice.
Wow, I mean, concave advantage for TLO through the roof.
That made a huge difference there. Snoot, to the first couple of volleys at the back didn't go off, and then Snoot had to move forward to make sure that he could fire with all of his roaches, and then took additional volleys. TLO with the big burrow coming out here. Of course, giving him a little bit of roach regeneration, which is going to be actually quite helpful here, because that's something Snoot does not have. So a damaged roach is a much, much weaker roach. TLO now popping back up again. Baneling speed being added on here. Snoot is in a bad way, but let's see if Snoot can set up the good concave. He's not ready. He's not ready. TLO gets right in there, but the question is, can he do the damage?
Oh, because Snoot has just a powerful concave in this position, but TLO does have the slight advantage in upgrade and roach number. It's still pretty close. Snoot and TLO have... Wow, no, TLO actually has a lot more roaches in this general vicinity. With that one failed attack by Snoot, TLO's going to be able to crush through.
Very, very nice. I'm actually surprised to not see TLO actually using any burrow micro here, considering Snoot doesn't have an overseer. Oh, he is using it. There we go. Now towards the back. I think he was more concerned about doing maximum damage here. But now the burrow micro comes into play, and there's not really much that Snoot can do about that without an overseer in the mix. In fact, he's not even morphing. There we go. He's brought one in now. TLO sees it, pops right back up again, attacks yet again. But Snoot's down to 7 roaches versus 31. GG TLO. Very nice.
I mean, it's very simple. That one moment where he said, well, TLO has a fantastic concave. I mean, Snoot began that fight at around 65 roaches, TLO at 55. And at the end of the fight, it was 41 to 31. I mean, TLO began behind 10 and ended up 10. That's an example of how important a concave is. So,
Indeed.
Again, it's the less mentioned advantage, but it's still the most important one in many late game fights.
Yeah, and it comes down to a couple of factors. The first being, of course, that roach range is only 4, so you want to be able to curve it around the enemy, with some exceptions. In fact, as we saw yesterday, the other situation is, if you're a giant ball and the enemy completely surrounds you, that's actually pretty good for you if they get close, and you can just gun them down with everything you've got. But Usually you want it in a concave so that you can attack as many units as possible and not have wasted units at the back that are just kind of running around doing nothing. And there's also the aspect of spreading that damage out. You don't want 30 roaches firing at exactly the same target at exactly the same time. That becomes a little bit awkward because it's wasted damage. So you want to spread that out and do maximum damage over the group, and that concave lets you do that.
And the funny thing now is that we are getting perhaps the most even match that we've seen yet. Most of the time it was up 2-0, then one team shows a little glimmer of hope. Actually, every single series that you and I have casted together have been one team getting a 2-0 lead at first, so
Indeed.
it's kind of nice to see the evenness kicking off. I do think Norway's in a little bit of a rough spot now that Snoot is out.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. However, on day one, we saw Ike put out a really impressive performance. I think Ike is very capable of beating TLO and also beating Soke in a PvP. He beat Mana in a PvP in a very impressive fashion. So that's doable. And then you've also got Targa as an option if you want to go for another Zerg versus Zerg. Targa with a much more aggressive ZVZ style that may work against TLO, but I don't know. If you take out Snoot, then maybe you don't want to send another Zerg into the Shark Pit. So I would expect Ike out of Norway here.
Yeah, I think Ike is a good choice against TLO. TLO has shown some weakness against Protosses. We've seen him do some creative mixes of, two base into Infest, or not Infestor, two base into Swarmhost. And although that can crush lesser players, the really excellent players tend not to really be scared or messed with by that at all.
No, not really. Well, we'll see. We're going to go to a short 3-minute or so break, folks. We are still taking entries. What is TRLDM? We know, of course, it's Trolldom, but we would like you to find another acronym. And I will give away 5 copies of Bioshock Infinite to the best results. So do let me know. Send me a DM, and we will announce the winners probably during the 15-minute break between the main matches. So 5 copies of Bioshock Infinite to be given away to the best and funniest StarCraft-related acronyms for TRLDM. Send me a direct message on Twitch, and we'll have a look through some of the results. You're watching the OGaming Nation Wars, brought to you by Numeric Cable and Daily Motion. We will be right back with the 3rd game in this series, and it's going to, of course, be Ike on Yonsu playing for this. Don't go anywhere. dear God, is that not an amazing track from Jamie Christopherson? Oh god, it's called It Has to Be This Way, and that was the Platinum Mix instrumental from Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which you can currently get on Steam. I actually bought the soundtrack to this last night. It was my first experience buying music. No, not just buying music, buying it on the Google Play Store. It was quite a pleasant experience. It was alright.
I was like, that is not your first time buying music,
No, absolutely
Jonathan
not.
Bain.
No, but Amazon's actually got a bit weird for me lately. I used to just buy it off Amazon MP3, but for some reason they're now saying that I'm in the wrong region. I think it's because I moved to the US and my account's still, like, it still thinks it's in the UK, even though my billing address is in the US. It's like, no, you can't buy it. It's like, well, I want to give you my money. Please let that happen. Come on. But the soundtrack to that is amazing. The Metal Gear Rising has some incredible music, and there is an album available for it that I downloaded last night, and I do not regret a single penny spent on that CD, because holy crap, it is that good.
You know, I will say, I'm a huge fan of actually buying the album. If I can't handle it, then yeah, I'll like digital get it, but man, I love
CDs?
yeah, I like CDs because like I don't use them, but I like the art.
You like having them? Yeah.
Yeah, because you know I can like lay them out in like a nice grid, and the artwork makes me happy and stuff. You know, as opposed to looking at like a Winamp playlist and being like, yes, it's saved as an M3U. You know?
It is green, as always. Yeah. Now, TLO is actually going for a 10 pool here, by the way. So this is already getting interesting.
Oh, whoa. And we're seeing Ike go straight for the one gate play on this map. And, I mean, the wall off might be called a little unusual, but going one gate on this map is absolutely expected. I mean, if you look at the front of Yonsu, it is an absolute pain to wall off, especially given that early pools can just kill off the rocks anyways. So most of the time we see gateway first, so Tilo has to know that. He has to have some up his sleeve.
Yeah, he's got to have a plan here. Let's see where... Oh, it's Probe going down the bottom here, and the pylon. I don't know, Ike is already playing quite cautiously. It's almost like he suspects something with this building placement here. He's got a probe sitting around waiting to start up another wall-off. He's just going to do a complete wall-off here, surely.
I mean, he has so many options, to be frank. He can complete wall-off. He can wait for the Zealot. I mean, often players will be skipping on the first Zealot. They'll just go straight for the Mothership Core, and TLO could be banking on that. He could park and wait till he has 8-10 lings and march in, but... Oh, that's exactly what he's going to do. Look at that. There's the expand.
Smart.
He's going to wait until he sees the Zealot get canceled. It's just such a great meta play. Look at this. Probe moves down. Zealot's going to get canceled. Oh, John, this is so sick.
This is kind of beautiful, isn't it? There it is. There's the cancellation. And now he goes. You sneaky bastard. The question is, can Ike block it off? Oh, he's going immediately for the cancel there. And there's the complete wall off, but there's a pylon down at the bottom that is going to get killed. He's going to work on the gateway here. Oh my god, he might actually be able to break this.
Oh my god, he has big surface area there.
Yeah, he's got maximum surface area on this. The sentry is gonna come out before this gateway dies, but that's only one force field. That's not good enough. Ike's gonna have to wall this off hardcore, and he already is.
Oh, wow. I mean, a strong, swift answer from Ike, but just a clever, clever play out of TLO.
When the hell do you ever lose your gateway in your main at 4 minutes versus a Zerg? I mean, really?
Against TLO most of the time, I'd guess.
Apparently. That was a fantastic play. Now he can just back off. You know, he lost one ling. Just one to that whole thing. Absolutely worthwhile.
Wow, that's so sick.
Ike in panic mode right now. He's building 2 gateways to compensate for the fact that he lost his original one. He's sitting only on a single sentry and is now attempting to get his expansion. He did get a Mothership Core out, which, as we know, can beat most Zerg armies, but it's out in the center of the map, and there's no Nexus down the bottom, so he can't use his cannon yet.
Now, in this position, I think TLO's doing a very smart move, getting gas